Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and I thought we'd compare one of the most loved iPhones with the iPhone 14 Pro Max to the current flagship iPhone 17 Pro Max. We'll compare everything from the display to the battery life, cameras, and much more, and if you want to jump to any specific point in the video, be sure to check out the chapters in the description. Now the first thing is the iPhone 14 Pro Max is no longer available directly from Apple. You can get it used from Apple, but you can no longer buy it new. You can also buy it from third-party retailers used, but typically you won't find many new iPhone 14 Pro Maxes anymore. But they are still a good phone, and when they launched, they started at $1,099, went up to $1,599, and you had the option of 128 gigabytes, 256, 512, or 1 terabyte. With the iPhone 17 Pro Max, it starts at $1,199 currently and goes up to $1,999. It starts at 256 gigabytes of storage. You have a 512 gigabyte option, a 1 terabyte, and 2 terabyte option if you want that as well. When it comes to the colors, the iPhone 14 Pro Max was available in this deep purple color, but also available in gold, silver, and space black. With the iPhone 17 Pro Max, there's only 3 colors this year, with Cosmic Orange that I have here. There's also a deep blue color, along with silver. And the overall differences between them when it comes to the build is pretty big, where we have stainless steel with the iPhone 14 Pro Max. The entire outside is stainless steel and also coated with a coating with this purple. You'll see that it does chip over time and scratch quite a bit, especially down near the ports. Depending on how you're using it, it will show some of those scratches. But overall, it's very durable, a very strong material. It's quite heavy. We'll talk about that in a moment. And of course, we have the typical buttons we normally do with power, sleep, wake on the right side, along with a millimeter wave antenna. On the bottom, we still had lightning at this point, but we have a speaker and microphone. And then on the left-hand side, we have our silent switch along with our volume buttons. We've got our 3 cameras, and then on the top, basically just an antenna line. But we have glass on the back and ceramic shield on the front. With the iPhone 17 Pro Max, they've moved away from stainless steel or titanium to aluminum or aluminium. We have a unibody design with an all-new antenna here at the top. You can see the millimeter wave antenna here at the very top in the United States, and it seems to do a better job with overall cellular connectivity. We'll talk more about that a little bit later, though. We have a ceramic shield back over the MagSafe connector here, and then on the right-hand side, we've got our power sleep wake button, but they've replaced the millimeter wave here with camera control. We can control the camera, we can open it quickly, maybe zoom in, zoom out, click to take a photo, and customize it how we'd like. On the bottom, we've got our speaker and microphone along with a color-matched USB-C port. So you no longer have to use a separate cable for Lightning. You can just use USB-C along with everything. Now on the front, we have ceramic shield too. This is much more durable, 3 times better scratch resistance than the previous version, and it's just regular ceramic shield on the back. So overall, it holds up very well as far as durability when it comes to scratches. I actually dropped this one in particular on some rocks off of a tripod. So it wasn't clipped into the tripod, it fell off and fell directly on rocks, and you can see those chips here. So it actually held up really well. Maybe I'll get the screen replaced, but it held up really well. It didn't crack the display or anything else. And on the 14 Pro Max, there's quite a few scratches all over it. So everything from nicks in the display to light scratches throughout, and you can see those here. I'm finding that the 17 Pro Max seems far more durable when it comes to the overall display, but not as much when it comes to the frame, as we have a softer material. So you'll see where I dropped it, we have that nick on the overall frame. So that's something that you'll have to deal with aluminum if you're not careful with it. When it comes to the overall size and weight, well, the 17 Pro Max is a little bit bigger, basically a little bit taller that you can see here, and about the same width. Slightly wider, but overall a little bit lighter. Because it's aluminum, it comes in at 8.22 ounces or 233 grams, compared to the 14 Pro Max at 8.47 ounces or 240 grams. Now, before we talk about battery and charging, today's video is sponsored by Ugreen. I have thousands of photos and videos, important files and documents, and while you can use iCloud or other services to back everything up, having a local copy is great for peace of mind or privacy, with the added benefit of no monthly fee. The Ugreen NAS DH2300 is a network-attached storage device that can back everything up with storage up to 60 terabytes. You can automatically sync your photo library and even share access to your files with someone else. It works on iOS, Android, Mac, and Windows, and can be used with Time Machine on Mac as well. Equipped with a 1 gigabit Ethernet network port, the speed is up to 125 megabytes per second. It can transfer a 1 gigabyte file in just a few seconds. You can log into the NAS using your NFC and set different permissions for multiple accounts as well. The Ugreen NAS DH2300 also uses RAID redundancy to make sure your files are safe even in the event of a hard drive failure. Check it out for yourself with the link in the description and grab 20% off during November 20th to December 1st. Now, when it comes to battery, the iPhone 14 Pro Max has a smaller 4,323 mAh battery that Apple says is good for 29 hours of video playback. The iPhone 17 Pro Max has a 5,088 mAh battery that's good for 10 hours more at 39 hours of video playback. So overall, very large batteries, and after years of using the 14 Pro Max, you'll see it's at 85% battery health. Typically, when it released, it would get you about 8 to 10 hours of screen on time. Many people are finding about 12 to 14 hours of screen on time with the 17 Pro Max. Of course, it depends completely on how you use it, but overall, it will easily get you through the day, depending on the iOS update, as long as it's not using a lot of things in the background. When it comes to charging, the iPhone 14 Pro Max does have MagSafe, but it's only at about 15 watts, so you can use a MagSafe charger. It will begin charging the phone, but again, it's a little bit slower. It will charge up to 50% in 35 minutes using a 20-watt adapter or higher via Lightning cable, though. With the 17 Pro Max, though, we now have 25-watt MagSafe using Qi 2 25-watt compatible chargers. So this will charge a little bit faster, 50% in 30 minutes with a 30-watt adapter or higher. But if you're using a 40-watt adapter or higher via USB-C, you can charge to 50% in about 20 minutes or so. So definitely a little faster, even though it's a larger battery, but very good overall. As long as the updates continue to be good, they'll both have great battery life in general. However, the 17 Pro Max is just a larger battery, so you'll have better battery life there. When it comes to the displays, the iPhone 14 Pro Max has a 6.7-inch display that's slightly smaller and also has a resolution of 2,796 by 1,290 at 460 pixels per inch. It does have a ProMotion display, meaning it goes up to 120 Hz variable, so overall very smooth, and also has an always-on display as well. With the iPhone 17 Pro Max, this is slightly larger at 6.9 inches and has a resolution of 2,868 by 1,320, also at 460 pixels per inch. This one, however, goes up to 3,000 nits of brightness. I've used this in high brightness situations outside in the summer, and it stays nice and cool overall, and really no issues with the display being very bright at its highest brightness. So even outside, it's definitely noticeably better and stays brighter for longer as it cools itself much better. We'll talk about that in a moment, though. It also has 120 Hz ProMotion as well as an always-on display. Now, with the 17 Pro Max, we get something called PWM smoothing. Within our accessibility settings, if we go under display and text size, scroll down, you'll see display pulse smoothing. Basically, this smooths out the PWM so that it doesn't bother your eyes as much. Basically, an OLED display flickers the display faster or slower to control brightness. Your eyes don't see it, but you do feel effects from it, such as nausea. You can also have headaches or just eye strain in general. It affects about 1 in 10 people, and this typically fixes the problem. While it doesn't turn it off entirely, it does seem to smooth it out, as you can see here, so it makes it a little bit more tolerable, and it doesn't bother my eyes at all. However, those that are the most sensitive to PWM still may be bothered by it, but I really haven't heard many that are. So it seems to have resolved that issue for most people. When it comes to speed and performance, the iPhone 14 Pro Max is using the A16 Bionic chipset with 6 GB of RAM. That's half of the RAM of the iPhone 17 Pro Max, where this has the A19 Pro chipset with 12 GB of RAM. That's noticeable when you're maybe doing more intensive tasks, maybe you're using the camera, you're also going into a different app, and when you go back in, typically the app will still be open on the 17 Pro Max, where sometimes it isn't on the 14 Pro Max. Also, because we have more RAM and an updated neural engine, we can do things with Apple Intelligence. Apple Intelligence is not available on the 14 Pro Max. So, for example, in Photos, if we go to edit this, we'll have options such as cleanup. Now, it may take a moment to initiate this. It says preparing cleanup, but we should be able to clean up the photo. However, it's not the greatest experience, so we'll give it just a moment here. So now we have the option to clean up. Maybe we want to get rid of the vehicle that's here. We'll just highlight it. It should auto-select it. There we go. Give it a second and it should disappear. Now, it doesn't do a perfect job, as you can see here. In certain situations, maybe if there's a power line or something like that, it works well. But in other situations, it's just not great. You also have Image Playground, where you can make your own emojis, make images, use ChatGPT, and much more, as well as Visual Intelligence, utilizing the camera and searching for things here as well. So we can see what this is. You'll see if it recognizes a 14 Pro Max. We'll just search for this, give it a second and see what it finds. And it should find a 14 Pro Max pretty quickly, and it did. So it is working as expected, but it's something that you may find useful or you may not with writing tools and much more. But it does sort of complement other applications as well with things such as shortcuts that can use it and much more. Also, when it comes to benchmarks, these can vary, of course, up and down, but this gives you an idea side by side as far as what they can do processing-wise. Single core, 2,663 on the 14 Pro Max, with multi-core coming in at 6,254. On the 17 Pro Max, we have much higher scores at 3,957 for single core, 10,171 for multi-core. So overall processing power is a huge leap with the 17 Pro Max. Now also, if we try another intensive task, so maybe you recorded a long video, we'll open up iMovie here. You'll see we have the exact same video, and the overall length, we'll go to the end here, is 3 minutes and 46 seconds. Let's go ahead and share this and see if there's much of a difference when exporting 4K video. Now the video is ready to share. We'll save the video, see how fast they export it, and I'll bring in the iPhone Air as a stopwatch. So we'll save, and then we'll start and see how long it takes for both of them. So both finished. We'll stop the stopwatch there. And we're talking about an 8-second difference between both of them. Very close overall. So depending on the task you're doing, they can be very, very similar. Now also, because we just exported a video, it's going to heat the phone up a little bit more. And if I flip these over, I can show you with the overall thermal signature. The thermal signature on the 17 Pro Max is going to dissipate heat out more because it's got a vapor chamber in it, where the 14 Pro Max does not. Now with the 17 Pro Max on the thermal camera, you can see that the heat is mostly dissipated throughout, with it being around the hottest point around 32 degrees Celsius. On the 14 Pro Max, you'll see it's concentrating heat right over the processor, and it's a little bit warmer around 36 degrees Celsius. Of course, it's going to vary depending on what you're doing, but in general, it's going to stay a little bit warmer on the 14 Pro Max, and even in the hottest conditions, it will dim the display to try and keep everything cool. So you won't really have that issue on the 17 Pro Max, so that helps with playing games and just running tasks in general. Now let's take a listen to the speakers and see how they compare. Both of them have similar stereo speakers. Again, at the top of the glass here, you'll see an opening for the speaker with a speaker at the bottom of the 14 Pro Max. On the 17 Pro Max, it's similar, again with an opening for the speaker at the very top here above the glass and another speaker at the bottom. So let's go ahead and take a listen. We'll also see how loud they go as well. Now with the speakers, the 14 Pro Max sounds pretty decent. It goes nice and loud, but the 17 Pro Max is a few decibels louder. At the highest volumes, both of them sound a little bit distorted, but if you drop it down just a little bit, it sounds nice and clear. The 17 Pro Max sounds like it has a little bit more bass and clarity overall. Is there a little bit improved, but very, very similar overall. I think you'd be happy with either one, but if you want the loudest and clearest phone, I'd go with the 17 Pro Max. As far as overall cellular connectivity, well, the 14 Pro Max was great when I was using it. However, the 17 Pro Max, compared to even the previous generation, has much better signal strength. So I don't have my SIM card in this one currently. It's in the iPhone Air. But generally, even compared to the iPhone Air, I only have 2 bars here. Typically in the same location, I'll have 3 or 4 bars. It seems they have a better signal strength overall, and we also have Apple's N1 modem. So while we both have Qualcomm chipsets here, when it comes to the Wi-Fi modem, it's a little bit different. So Wi-Fi overall, we have Wi-Fi 7 on the iPhone 17 Pro Max, along with Bluetooth 6 and Thread support. With the 14 Pro Max, we have Wi-Fi 6, along with Bluetooth 5.3, and then we both have ultra-wideband, but the 17 Pro Max has a new generation, or a second-gen ultra-wideband. So overall, very much an improvement on the 17 Pro Max with connectivity and just general signal strength. When it comes to the overall cameras, there's also a big upgrade with the 17 Pro Max. We now have an 18 megapixel open gate sensor that's square, and if we go into it, and we'll take a look at videos in a moment, but if we go in here, we can go in and switch this to landscape or just portrait mode, depending on however you're holding it. In portrait, it doesn't matter. You can just zoom in and out. On the 14 Pro Max, we have a 12 megapixel forward-facing camera, and it's just not as good. So it's a big improvement here. We also have ultra-stabilized video on the 17 Pro Max and center stage for photos and video calls. When it comes to the rear cameras, there's also a big difference. With the 14 Pro Max, we have a 12 megapixel ultra-wide, a 12 megapixel telephoto, and a 48 megapixel main camera. With the 17 Pro Max, all of them are 48 megapixels this year, and they're called fusion cameras. So we can sort of zoom into them or crop into the sensor because we have a 48 megapixel sensor. We also have modes such as dual capture, as well as ProRes RAW support and Genlock as well. So if we go to the back here, we can switch modes, of course. We have RAW, and for the highest resolutions, you'll actually need an external drive, but you have all of those options in the 17 Pro Max. We also have Apple Log 2, 4K 120, studio quality 4 microarrays, as well as audio mix, wind noise reduction, and spatial video, all in the 17 Pro Max, where the 14 Pro Max doesn't have any of that. Now, as far as the way it looks and the way it sounds and what some of the photos and videos look like, let's go ahead and take a look at a comparison. This is the forward-facing camera on the iPhone 14 Pro Max and the iPhone 17 Pro Max. They both look pretty good, but the iPhone 17 Pro Max has an all-new sensor that's open gate, so we can switch to a landscape mode utilizing the forward-facing camera. So now we're in landscape on the 17 Pro Max, and also we have additional options, so not just landscape and portrait, but we also have microphone modes. We can switch to studio and a few others as well, so we can really have more options when it comes to utilizing the camera. So this just gives you an idea of what they look like, and also what they sound like going from the 14 Pro Max to the 17 Pro Max. Let me know which one you think looks best and sounds best in the comments below. Now finally, between both of them, they have the same IP rating, IP68, 6 meters for 30 minutes, and everything else is pretty much the same. iOS support currently is the same, other than Apple Intelligence, like I mentioned before, and we should get support for the iPhone 14 Pro Max with iOS probably at least for a few more years. Apple's been pretty great about providing about 5 to 7 years of updates, however, the latest features just won't be available. The processor either can't handle it, just things such as Apple Intelligence, or it just doesn't have the option to handle the overall graphic intensity of liquid glass. So that with the 17 Pro Max makes it clearly something that's more future-proof, it's faster, and with future updates, with that more graphic-intensive update, it may even slow the 14 Pro Max down a little bit. But generally, it feels pretty fast. I've had pretty good experiences from people telling me it's generally pretty fast, even with the latest updates. It will only get better with future iOS updates as well. So maybe iOS 28, 29 will be supported on the 14 Pro Max, but we'll go another 5 to 7 years on the 17 Pro Max on top of that. So in general, it's definitely more future-proof to go with the 17 Pro Max. Now, if you're trying to decide between both of them, if battery is most important to you, go with the 17 Pro Max. If cameras are the best, again, 17 Pro Max, future-proofing and everything else. However, if you just really don't like the aluminum frame, I'd go with the 14 Pro Max or maybe the titanium frame of the 15 or 16 Pro Max. Both feel very premium. I actually like the feel of the 17 Pro Max, but not everyone will, and not everyone is as careful as I am with the phone, where they may ding this up quite a bit and need a case. So just keep that in mind, but the overall experience is definitely smoother, much faster, and just more pleasant to use with the 17 Pro Max. Things such as the action button and the camera control don't really matter to me, but it is something that's a convenience that I've gotten used to, using it for the flashlight or just quickly going into the camera. But the camera control is something that I don't find that I use for taking photos, as it shakes the phone overall. So you'll have to determine that for yourself, get your hands on one, and see which one you like best as far as the feel of it. But I really like the 17 Pro Max. I know not everyone does, but this design will probably stay with the 18 Pro Max or future updates as well. So Apple typically keeps designs for quite a while now. Let me know what you think of both of them in the comments below, and of course I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.